Hi, and welcome to A Class of Their Own podcast, revealing the human stories behind their name. We will hear honest and intimate reflections from our guests who, despite their circumstances, shape a world that reflects their unique visions of success. Join me, Mira, to learn from these inspirational people and take the first step to make your own change. On today's episode, we're joined by Lisa Goodchild. Diving straight in, who is Lisa?
Lisa is very determined, trying to make shit happen, trying to change the world for young people from underserved communities, and quite vocal. And I think at a time in my age now, I've got to a stage where I just don't give a shit and I will say what I want to say.
Okay. And so if we go back a few years and childhood.
Yes.
Where did Lisa grow up and what was your childhood like?
Oh gosh, it was like a movie. I was thinking about this recently because my daughters now have the most fabulous childhood. Like this morning, my daughter got up, she's 18, she's got a degree apprenticeship with EY. And she went, "Hey, mummy," and I was like, "Hey, darling, you got off to work?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's why I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning." I was like, "Yes." And then she said, I said, "Okay, have a beautiful day, Mia." And I just thought that was something that didn't happen in my household as a kid. I was chucked out of my house at probably 19. But before that, gosh, life was pretty horrific, you know. As in, my dad wasn't around from probably around 5. Okay. He went on holiday for a little while, as we would say where I grew up, when you was trying not to tell the kids that someone was in prison. My mum was in a really bad state anyway. Even when my dad was around, she's always suffered from mental health issues. And she decided to go out with a heroin addict. My stepfather, who's no longer a heroin addict, but he was a very big heroin addict. And he was only a young kid himself, actually. So my mum had me at 19, my brother at 20, and I think we pushed her over the edge then. And then, my stepdad brought some flavour to the household, and we had a lot of crazy stuff. So we were the poorest on the council estate. We didn't have anything, you know, we didn't have carpet in the hallway, we didn't have painted walls. My mum was smashing plates on a regular basis. She would get up in the morning, the house was getting smashed up. Sometimes you'd wake up and there might be a belt hanging from the loft where she had tried to hang herself the night before. It was crazy, but we also had a lot of fun. So as much as it was crazy, and we was like latch door kids, we were, well, I'd say feral. We were definitely feral. So we had the key under the mat and we were just allowed to come home whenever we wanted. Really, we did have some structure. We had neighbours grassing us up if we crossed the road and things like that up until like 6. Okay. But it was just crazy. Our life was crazy. You know, there was no heating, no food. We had to find food. We were hustlers, so we'd knock on doors. We had people we went to for sweets, for biscuits, for breakfast, for pounds to put in the electric meter if mum hadn't chiselled it open and, you know, regurgitated and recycled those pounds. It was fun though, because we were free. So we had an element of freedom. So when people say, "Oh, I've got to go to, I don't know, Aunt Flo's because there's a family gathering," we didn't have that. We were just out in the park, which is now Betts Park, which is now called the Murder Park.
Okay.
Yes. So we were actually, where we grew up is in the bottom 10% of our particular road, and our blocks were just full of people with a lot of mental health issues.
Okay. And back then, was mental health talked about as something as it is today?
No, it wasn't talked about at all. And my mum sort of dodged being put into that category. She's like a stunning, very attractive, very little confidence woman, and she would never admit that she had mental health issues. So, she, as much as she's been on lots of antidepressants and etc. and had help through the years, it was a difficult time, and people were tarnished. She was known as the mad one from the family. Yeah. My family wasn't all poor. So actually, we had my mum's mum. She went to boarding school as a kid. She lost her mum when her mum had an affair with the next door neighbour and was shunned from the family. She ended up with her dad, and she lost her dad at about, I think it was 8. And then she was brought up by a lady called Countess Cathcart, and she had to actually, speak to the lady and talk to her as Countess Cathcart. It was never like aunt or anything like that. So she was brought up in a very cold way, and ended up in boarding school. And then at 16, she left boarding school and she just shunned that world and didn't have anything to do with it, and ended up going out with a lot of gangsters and, low-life criminals that treated her really badly. Yes. So, life was interesting. But, my nan, funny enough, my nan had 3 baby fathers, 5 kids. One was adopted. She gave one up for adoption. My mum's full-blooded sister. And my mum did the same. 3 baby fathers, 4 kids, so. And then my sister did the same. So, it's a repeat, but I stopped that repeat. So that's probably why I've been with my other half since I was 13.
Wow. Going back to what you were just saying, which was sometimes you saw a belt at the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
What age was this?
Probably from around 6, crazy stuff was happening. Mum just wasn't in the right frame of mind. You'd wake up and hear her screaming and crying. Yeah, we was pretty young, but we were so grown up as well. I think that's something that I had a problem with in secondary school, when I had teachers trying to tell me what to do or trying to take a coat off me because it was the wrong colour. I'm like, this is my only coat. I think I was like, I've got more experiences in my little finger than you've got in your whole lifetime. Who do you think you're talking to? So, I used to be quite angry in secondary school.
And so what did that feel like? And did you know and realise what was going on and what that belt signified at the age of 6?
I think I did know what was going on, but I think as a kid, you sort of get on with what you're doing, don't you? I always try to block that out. And me and my brother used to just get out, so we'd get out and get away from mum, really, trying to not be around that noise. Yeah, we did know what was going on, but obviously later on through life, it started being, really obvious what was going on and how mum really, she needed support really and didn't have it. And I think that's the thing with mental health. When people are at their lowest point and need the help, they can be pretty hard to deal with. And then people don't want to be around them. So, all the family members sort of went, oh, there's crazy Karen, and left her at it. And that's, people swap. It's hard for people to deal with. What's brilliant, though, of me growing up in that situation is if anyone has a breakdown around me, I'm really good at dealing with it, and I have dealt with it and help people because I understand it, and it doesn't scare me being around people that are not in a great state. So my brother's friend, Ruben, when we was kids, he suffered from schizophrenia, and me and my brother were the only ones that really could talk to him as well. He'd be seeing things vividly, hallucinating, and we'd be like, Ruben, pull your hat up, sit up straight. But he wanted to, it sort of brought him out of it, him out of those vivid things that he was hallucinating. It gave us some really good skills, and I think that's something that I've taken from my childhood is adversity produces, brilliant skills in terms of creativity, determination and making shit happen.
You talked about your stepdad coming into the picture.
Yeah.
What was the influence there? Because it doesn't necessarily sound like that was a positive influence into what was already a chaotic place to be.
Well, I think also because my dad was this gentle person that would sort of pull up and you'd look at sheep and go on walks in the park and do all cute stuff. And then I had this young person who really was, he was 18 when he started going out with my mum. So there was quite a big age gap as well. So he was a kid. He was our babysitter. So he was a kid. And he had real problems. What was interesting about him, he's a lot of fun. So even though it was crazy, there was a lot of, he had a lot of young friends and they were doing crazy stuff. And again, it was quite fun, his friends would do moonies out of the car when it was driving along, or shout out at people. We'd find it hilarious. But you learn a lot from them, or they'd jump up in the conker tree and get every conker. We thought they were brilliant. I didn't like him because I loved my dad. So, and also I knew that he brought problems to my mum. So for a long time, you know, he's been clean for probably 20 odd years now, more than that, I think. And he's an amazing human. And he's helped me out in times when I've needed it, and he would be there for me whenever I need it. But when he was younger, he was just a very lost soul, and it actually was a thing that Penge was that. It was a lost soul. When you look up Penge, it says where all the poor people are sent from Bromley, and it is that. It's this. It really infuriates me actually in terms of council tax, because they pay the same council tax as Bromley, and if you look at the population of Bromley to Penge, and actually they're not getting their bins collected and things like that, but Bromley seem to get all of their bins collected, you know. Yeah. It's treated really badly, Penge. So I think my stepfather grew up like that, but he wasn't from poor. He was from quite wealthy. So his dad had a coaching business, they had money, but he had died, so he had left the money to his mum. So him and his brother sort of just wanted money off of their mum to go and take drugs, basically. So yeah, he was a heroin addict. And then that family business, it sort of touched all of us, and we all started, selling heroin. So as a kid, I was selling heroin. At 13, I would know that a McDonald's spoon was 0.2 of a gram, and you know, you'd get someone knocking and you'd fill a bag and you'd give it to them. And I was very lucky that I never got tempted, because Jeff ensured from seeing him that I wouldn't want to do those sort of drugs.
So you actually never...
No.
Partook, you sold?
Oh, no, yeah. And it was, really I was just, somebody popped around, and yeah, I suppose I did sell, but not intentionally, because I didn't get the money, so it wasn't my money.
And so let's just touch on your dad before we go somewhere else. He was gentle, so you remember him when you were growing up. So what was the impact on you when he left to go on holiday?
Yeah, well, it was harsh because he was such a sweetheart. So I think I obviously always pined for that when he wasn't there. And then, I'd be crying saying, Daddy, at home, and Mum would be like, shut up, he's nowhere to be seen. So I was like, okay. But he did come back into my life. And then he came back massively so he popped back into my life. Then he left the country. So he went and set up in Gambia, and he had a shipping business, and we didn't see him. We didn't know where he was. And my nan passed away during that time, his mum, which was quite sad because he never got to see her, and she was always wanting to find him. But then he came back into my life when I was 20, and him and my mum attended my graduation, which was really special because they had never attended anything really. Not a parents' evening, so it was amazing to have him there. But yeah, he's a brilliant human that my mum, she's had many men, and being around her can be quite hard to deal with. So, I do give him a card to say, yeah, I can't blame you really for trying to get away, because it's very hard dealing with that situation when you're trying to get to see your children and then you're dealing with somebody that's quite difficult.
And you had a really good relationship with him?
He's everything. Like, my dad's amazing. He taught himself to sail around the world. He's genius. He's a very estimated, free spirit, unbelievable. When he came back into my life, he took me travelling, me and my other half, and we went to Spain and we went to the Caribbean, and yeah, he's been such a staple part of my life since I was 19. So yeah, before that he was brilliant, but obviously we had the patch where he wasn't there. But I've said to him now, you've been here longer now, Dad. You can't use that as an excuse. You've been here longer here than you haven't been around. So, and he does, I want a new bathroom, he fits it for me.
Nice.
He's great.
And so just thinking about the mid-years in terms of school, college, university.
Yeah.
What happened during that phase or that season?
Well, I think it was crazy. School was crazy because we would have people like the guys that, The Only Way is Essex, the gangsters that got killed in the Range Rover, well, they'd be passing through the door. You know, my Uncle John, who's no longer with us, bless him, he'd pull up with his Bentley and his Ferrari. You know, we had such diversity and influence around us. And I remember my English teacher asking me what I wanted to be when I was older, and I said I was going to be a high-class prostitute or a gangster. I did get a C for her a GCSE for English and a C grade. None of my other GCSEs, I think D's, E's, whatever. What's interesting is you've got Ellie Reeves and Rachel Reeves, the Labour MPs. And Shadow Chancellor, and Rachel Reeves actually went to my school, and it was funny because, interestingly enough, I bumped into her at International Women's Day, and she was like, "Oh, Lisa, so how was school for you?" And I just looked at her, and that was the problem with school. Nobody realises what these young people are going through, and the trauma that they can be going through. You know, like I've definitely got PTSD. My sisters, my brother. There's stuff that we shouldn't have seen, you know, like the extremities, every single bad thing touched our lives. And that's what concerns me, is these beautiful, amazing young people getting, you know, excluded, expelled, getting a coat taken off them, getting stuff that has no relevance to what you're learning as an education. You know, what are we focusing on? Yes, I understand structure and discipline and those elements, but we really do need to be aware that some people are going through awful things at home, and they need to be supported. And if I was supported, maybe I would have ended up at Oxford or Cambridge. Who knows?
And where did you end up? What happened?
So I did. So I didn't have any GCSEs. I remember coming out of school thinking, sugar, I should have really done some work. And I did try. The last bit, I really did, but life was chaos. So I managed to do. It was a business administration course at Bromley College, and it was a BTEC. So you got like 4 GCSEs and A to C grade. I thought that could be handy. So I did that just as something to do with my mate Kay Layton, who was a dear friend, and. I learned to touch type, which was great. You know, a skill we all need today.
Yep, agreed.
Everyone's jealous of my touch typing skills. And then I thought I wanted to go into law. So I started doing a legal executive course that could then lead to more, and thought, gosh, definitely can't remember those dates, so I won't be doing that. And I remember being in JD Sports. I was working part-time in JD Sports. And this boy, Tyrone, went to me. He looked at me and went, "Is this what you're going to do for the rest of your life, Lisa?" And I thought, oh my God, this is no way what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And a friend's mum, my best friend's mum, she was really, really a staple part in my life, and she'd encouraged me to go university. Well, they were going university, so she was encouraging us all to try and go university. And I managed to get into Bromley College with a GMVQ, even though I didn't really have the GCSEs, but because of this BTEC, they let me on. Yeah. So I did a GMVQ, which was equivalent to A-levels. I found this course, looking at the universities, found this amazing course at Greenwich and thought, that's doable, that's down the road. I can, I don't have to live away, because I didn't want to live away. I didn't need to escape anyone. Didn't need to be naughty, because I'd done that, drinking alcohol in a park at 9, that was like nothing, seriously. I managed to applied to university, got no's from everyone. So I've found about 3 courses, got no's from everyone, including Greenwich. And then I contacted the lecturer at Greenwich University, Tony Mann, and I said, I'd love to do this course. And it was the internet, it was all about digital, it was CD-ROM, music. I knew that it was the next thing. I just loved being creative anyway. So then he let me do a maths and English exam and have an interview, and I got in, and I sat at the front of the class every single day, and I just loved it. And actually the first piece of coursework was a bit of a game changer, because I got like 96%. I got the best in the class. So I remember just thinking, shit, like, oh my gosh, I'm actually all right. It feels like, people have been to private schools, people have had very privileged backgrounds, and I thought, oh, I'm all right. And then, I think it's a leveller, because you start having conversations with people, you're meeting people outside your space, and that's what's great about uni. I'm not that too far outside my space, because it was only a 45-minute journey up the road, but a lot of them had come from different places. And I came out with a first. And it was the best thing ever, because obviously I'd failed my GCSEs, didn't really have any A-levels because GMVQ isn't A-levels, as my 18-year-old will clearly tell me. And I managed to get a first. So it was such a brilliant achievement. And then it was a dot-com crash.
But what was that drive or that reason for going to university? So it sounds like mum was around and you had the freedom to do whatever. You were, again, making an assumption you were in a group of people where you were involved in drugs, you weren't taking them.
Yeah.
You had a best friend's mum who was encouraging you all as a collective to go to university. But where did that drive and desire to not become the high-end prostitute or a gangster?
I think when the three guys got shot in the Range Rover, I think that was quite shocking. You know, Craig, Tony and Pat had been in my house. I'd met them. They were family friends. And to see a whole group just wiped out, I think that was really scary. I remember, you know, when we realised it was them, being really emotional. And then also seeing that activity, that world, everything really being bad, you know, nothing really resulted in anything good. Yeah, my uncle would pull up in his Bentley and someone was trying to shoot him, you know, he was always looking over his shoulder. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it wasn't a nice world and I just did not want that world. And also I remember being about like 16 and I would not walk around in trainers and jeans. I'd walk around in a blazer and a shift dress. And I don't know why, but I was very different. I was very lucky that I had diversity of people around me. And I think that's so important. And that's why I'm so passionate about young people getting into spaces so they can see. And because we got such a diverse family, and, you know, like my granddad, he was an interior designer for, like, David Bowie. You know, like, we had all this crazy brilliance around us that helped. Yeah.
So you had access to seeing different things. It was just in your cocoon, for a better word. Is that even the right word?
Yeah.
It was very different.
Yeah. Well, as a kid, I love people like Madonna, you know, the power of... I remember being really pissed off that I was a girl at one point and thinking, because of the indifference of the world, going into the head teacher's office and saying, well, why can't we play football? You know, this is ridiculous in primary school. I don't know where it comes from. I think the influences of people around me has been really amazing. And I've always been very observant with different personalities, and I love different people. You know, I don't stay with the same people. I have 10 different groups of friends. You know.
And so if we take your friendships, you grew up in a very cultural, multicultural, multiracial place, because Penge is quite...
For Bromley it is.
Weirdly, I've heard of Penge. But that is relatively multicultural and it's just different.
Yeah.
And so what do your friendship groups look like from when you were at school to what they are now?
I would actually say I've always had a lot of black friends. It's just something that's because of the diversity that we grew up with. And, you know, a lot of black people in Penge were the poorer end of the spectrum with us. So we was always with a lot of black people, and a lot of people weren't. You know, my nan's Indian. Not that we really knew that growing up. She's Anglo-Indian, so she was born in India. And we didn't really, no one ever spoke about it, which was weird. It was later on in life that came out. But yeah, I think having that diversity of different people around us, it just helped so much, but it was all accidental. But my group of friends, you know, in school, they were all black Caribbean girls, you know, British obviously, but their backgrounds, their family had originally come from the Caribbean. And going throughout life, my friends, I've just got so much diversity. I mean, obviously my other half is British, half Jamaican, half Bayesian, and that influence as well growing up, I got chucked out at 19 and we lived with his mum. And obviously I was with him from 13. So at Christmases and the whole of the Caribbean was at his house, you know, like every island was walking through the doors. And it's just being exposed to that brilliance. And I think that's why I've got such a passion for Barbados, Jamaica, the Caribbean, because it's sort of a forgotten place of amazing creativity, and you only have to look at the Rihannas and the Bob Marleys of the world, or the Bolts, you know, the runners. When industries have been focused on, they just excel. So yeah, I've been really lucky to have brilliant, diverse people around me, and some just phenomenal humans that come from everywhere, all over the globe. And also I'm part Maori as well. So actually my children, they literally touch every continent in terms of their heritage, which I'm really proud of as well.
This episode is brought to you by Play for Change. Play for Change brings together leadership coaching, expert facilitation, and builds communities. They help craft real connections, spark learning, and turn play into powerful experiments to enable better relationships with yourself and others around you. Let's redefine how we connect and learn through play. To find out more, go to playforchange.co.uk, links in the show notes below. When we talk about university, you got a first.
Yeah.
What was that university journey like? You talked about your first assignment, getting a first, being better than everybody, beating everybody, being better than everybody, having greater result than everybody else who came from different backgrounds. What did that do for you?
I think it gave me the confidence to believe in myself. And I still didn't have confidence, to be honest. I still lack. People think, oh, Lisa's so confident. Actually, I'm not. It's all bravado. It's all bullshit, really. Because I have got confident over the years, and I'm starting to believe in my power. I think once I got to 40, I started going, and also I just don't care. But there was, a little girl sort of screaming and trying to be heard in a lot of places. Because it's tough growing up like that, and you're fighting all the time to get out of it. And I think that's something that growing up the way I did was, no, what does that means next opportunity. Like, how many no's can I, I've got a charity, everyone bloody says no to you, and I'm great at dealing with that. And that growing up the way I did gave me that power of being able to take no and being able to turn it into a next opportunity. So it gives you superpowers, I call them, from growing up. And that's why I want young people to realise they're all superpowers. Doesn't matter what you've been through, it's where you go into.
That's incredible, because the one thing that I'm looking at you doing through this conversation is you're smiling throughout that whole journey that you've just taken us on. You haven't stopped smiling and being positive about it, rather than almost going, poor me. Yeah. And again, where does that come from? Where was that younger Lisa? And does that resonate with who she was then? Or is this reflective work that you've done now?
When I was 40, I did go on a retreat over in Thailand to sort of do some meditation. And I've done a lot of yoga, meditation work myself. When I was about 14, I'd go around fighting, punching people, basically. My best friend, we had a punch-up when we was kids. And it's so sad, because when you're in that poverty bubble, it's encouraged, it's survival. And if you can use that in a different way. So I was lucky that I started getting arms wrapped around me. And I always believe in this, like, it's really important that we start wrapping our arms around these young people, and they feel love and they feel like they're cared for. And I was lucky to have that. And I suppose when I was 30, I got investment for a company as well. And I was lucky that these women, these really powerful, amazing, strong women came into my life and believed in me and helped me believe in myself as well. And I think it was around 30 that I really started believing in myself and understanding that I had power to do whatever I wanted. And actually all the stuff that I'd been through as a young person are superpowers if they're used in the right way, and can help you, tenacity, you can get through. Yeah. We didn't have food. We would get up in the morning, there was no food in the cupboards. We'd go and nick a bottle of milk from the next door neighbours. God help the poor kids nowadays because they don't have milkmen. But milk people. We used to go and do that. We was always hustling.
So what happened between ages 21 and 30 where these amazing people came into your life?
Yeah.
Who was Lisa after leaving university?
Yeah, I think I went travelling and then I set up my own business as well because it was a dot-com crash. So I was building websites for like footballers who wanted to be musicians and getting paid really nice money. And I was just... having those skills from university gave me the ability to build stuff and create. And I was building websites that actually put agencies, big, massive agencies, to shame. And when I look at the stuff that I was creating at university, I was really, really, really good. I was like, I still am. I still am.
You still are.
But I really, it's impressive stuff. And I never gave myself the credentials. But I think going through the journey of learning and digging deep and building this stuff, and it gave me confidence, which I think was one of the biggest things that held my mum back in her life. So gaining that confidence, working on myself, like I said, the yoga, running, and my daughter, my 18-year-old, came into my life when I was 25, and that was big. I knew that I was a mum, and as a woman, I've always made a point of saying, if there's no man around, which I'm very lucky, my partner's amazing, is a brilliant parent, but I will take this on. This is my responsibility. I am baking this baby, and this is my baby. I wasn't going to depend on anyone, and I suppose she made me really determined to want difference, want change, and then as I said. I had a couple of part-time roles. I'm not very employable because I'm not very employable. People just, I would call the boss out, and they don't like being called out. And we all know a lot of bosses are, they need to be called out. They should actually ask to be called out. Going through that journey and just experiencing different people, starting to grow in what I can achieve and what I can build. And then, when I got to 30, I took an idea to a guy called Dan Wagner, who I had worked with before. He employed me when I was pregnant. They didn't realise I got the job. I was 5 months pregnant. I had about 2 weeks before I had to tell them, and they weren't amused when I told them. But I started working with and it was a dot-com crash. He had bought the boo.com software and created a shop in a box. So he was taking like Panasonic to market, Ted Baker, really cool brands, and watching actually him and what he had created. So, the story, there was like 6 of them, and then they had started trying to sell in e-commerce and no one was buying online then, it was non-existent. And just watching people, I was always very observant.
What would you say has come into your adult life that you see from your childhood?
Gosh, I would say sometimes, although I say this and then I see people that have got it all together and you see them losing their mind as well. So sometimes I think dealing with situations, I can get into a bit of a panic, and it's something that I've learnt to deal with over the years and, calm down, and it's not such a big issue. Things like that, I suppose.
Is there anything else that kind of you see that crops up in the way that you lead your teams, the way that you are with your daughter, with your partner?
I think it's just made me so I don't do any of that stuff. I think one thing that I've taken from my mum and her journey is she taught me a lot of not what to do. So, as I said, I'm very observant, and I learned to protect myself from certain situations and to do work on myself. So I used to have a bad temper. I'm not saying I still don't, but I have learnt to work on that. So doing yoga, taking time, making sure that when I do feel like I'm stressed, taking time with myself, and also ensuring that my team are in a good place as well and that they take time for themselves. And as I said, that young kid that was in school that had all these problems on her shoulder and no one really knew what was going on. And the school system doesn't really care, let's get that right. They're so busy with numbers and trying to deal with a curriculum. Obviously, there were teachers that did care, and there's some lovely ones. But they're so caught up with this system, it's difficult for them to care and do anything about it, yeah.
What advice would you give anybody who's going through something as a young person today?
Try and take yourself out of that situation. I know that can be difficult because when you're in a household and, you know, there's plates being smashed and crazy stuff going on, go for walks, read books. You've got, the resources that we have now as humans, because of technology, are phenomenal. I remember I loved the library as a kid because it was around the corner and it was a hub, and they got the first computer. So me and my brother used to go there and just look for books because that's what you did. But find spaces. There's lots of spaces around now, and find communities. You know, something that we're really proud of at DigiLearning is we've got a hub and a community, and young people reach out to me all the time and ask me advice. And for young people, ask as well. Like, really do ask. And they can. All people can do is say no. Most of the biggest opportunities I've opened up for myself is just through asking and not taking the no, you know, and pushing and going around it and working hard as well. Like, there's this whole thing about Gen Z not working. I think they do work really hard. I think actually, I wish at 19 I'd known what a CEO was, because then maybe I'd have had that aspirations that I wanted to be a CEO at 19. And I love that they have that. And it's about them surrounding themselves with people in that space as well, and good people. The more, you know, it's not leaving all your baggage behind and your friends, but starting to surround yourself with different people, and that people that want the same as you is really, really important. And finding those environments and spaces where you feel safe is really important. And I think that's where our programs have done really well. Young people have felt really safe. You know, they come on, it's a different world. We open up with a bit of music. We're not school. We try and be fun as well, and try and make people happy.
So just talk to me about what those programs are, or what DigiLearn is? DigiLearning,
yeah. So we are a UK charity, and we've been around for 4 years now, and we've created programs. We worked with the Rio Ferdinand Foundation and another charity called UAF in the just after COVID, just as COVID began. And it was interesting. They were 10 years old as charities, and it was really good for us to be supported by them as well. And then from that, we ended up creating our program, which was basically, from my experience, as my lived experience. So I was lucky enough to be on the Marketing Academy, which is a phenomenal program where they take 30 marketeers from around the country. Somehow I managed to get in. Normally they're people from like Mars and, you know, Saatchi, but they let a couple of entrepreneurs in, and that was life-changing for me. And you went through boot camps, and you went through lunch and learns, and you got to like sit there with, I don't know, the MD of Global Radio and have conversations with just phenomenal people. And I knew that changed my life, but I knew that young people from underrepresented backgrounds, I was a rarity in that space, you know. Everyone was very middle class, and again was another leveller, and made me, because I was so welcomed, these people were like, Lisa, you're so amazing. When we had to do all this, you know, we did this living leader with an amazing woman called Penny Ferguson, which also helped me get in touch with myself and learning about my bravado, because she was similar, and, you know, being like, you know, quite a secret mouse, but then having to be bold. I remember actually my mum gave me that skill, because you'd be so scared of asking her something, you'd like hold it into you and be like, I've got to ask her, right, I'm going to go and ask her, and all she can do is say no. And I think that gave me a skill of being able to take that and to handle that.
And so where did the desire to set up DigiLearning come from?
So it was growing up in absolute poverty and watching your friends, a lot of them ending up in prison. I mean, how are you putting a 14-year-old young black boy who's got no family structure into prison if it isn't the biggest travesty and the biggest failure of our system, government, one of the richest countries in the world. I don't know what is, although we've just seen the post office example. So there's lots of examples now of, and young people getting, kids getting sent to Australia by the care system. I mean, it's atrocious. It's a really scary system. And actually, I've experienced the foster care system as well. Not being in the foster care system, we wasn't taken away from mum, although we probably should have been. But she always kept herself together. But I will only ever have one foster son, because it was all an accident. I ended up fostering. It was because of my daughter, her friend, and what he had to go through a broken system and the trauma. It's horrific. The many people that sit there on a phone with a meeting about you as a young person, talking about you, it's 20 people and there's these reports, but no one's actually doing anything. No one was doing anything. We was lucky that, I paid for his counselling and he's now in a really, really good place. But yeah, there's a lot of systems that are failing our young people. And that was watching those young people going through life, and they were so creative and so brilliant. But what else were they given? They were put in a prison. They came out with a criminal record. No one's going to give you a job. And also, you didn't even have any infrastructure. If you're middle class, that's just not happening. For one, you're going to have a lawyer. You probably won't go to prison. And for two, if you did end up going to prison, you would have this whole community network around you that can get you a job. And that was where I was passionate. I've had to bash down doors. I've had to work so hard. And, it's so funny because people go, oh, I had a hard childhood as well. We were brought up on a council estate. Council estate, that's not the problem. It's the level. We were like bottom of the council estate. No food, no electric, no community, no one checking in on us. Yeah. And we were just lost little children. And I just think that if I can help any young people get a pathway in or understand and believe in their ability to be able to do something, then that's my purpose in life, is to ensure that these young people progress. And that's why we have our 3 levels in our programme. So the first level is about personal development, which is so important. Start understanding, that you've got the power, that you can have what you want. We had a vision and goals session. It feels like this year's been 6 months already, because in the last 9-10 days I've done so much. But we had a vision and goals session with our young people and just helping them understand. It was something my dad said as well, like, if you're sailing a boat, you've got to know where the end destination is. And okay, you might have to move away from the storm and, go a different route to get to that destination. But having that destination is really important because you've got something to aim for. So yeah, bringing the skills that I've learned over the years that's got me out of the holes is what I'm trying to share with my young people. So we take them through personal development, all of that beautiful, digital footprint, financial footprint, getting them to understand about, APR. We're not teaching our young people, the schools are just broken. And it's not the teacher's fault, it's the system. And then level 2 is about business. So we have companies like the Financial Times to TikTok come in and do talks and do sessions, masterclasses for our young people. And level 3 is all about getting them a job or helping them with that side hustle, or even better, helping them with massive investment and hoping that they'll make millions. And one of our young people, for example, Brandon Louis, did our programme first year. He's in Barbados. We are international, so we do work with a lot of young people in the UK, but we were also open to international for our online programmes. And Brandon, you get a mentor in our programmes as well. So then he got a mentor with an amazing lady called Shirley Smith, who's just brilliant and so passionate, but also again came from probably an underserved community, so really, really wants people to get ahead. And Brandon ended up getting a job with a company called 59A, ad tech company. 4 years ago, I think he was number 13. There's now 59 of them. He got 4 of his girlfriends from Trinidad and Tobago to do our programme as well, Girl Rise. And they all got jobs at 59A. So actually, at the beginning of 59A, a third of their company was our young people. And they're all still there. And they're all still getting salaries in Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm hoping that 59A sells for a lot of money and my young people get made very rich from it as well.
That would be the dream.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you learn primarily for low socioeconomic classes, or is it across the board that you work with young people?
So we are inclusive for all. Our main focus is young people from underserved, underprivileged backgrounds, but we don't say no. And if a young person, for example, attended private school, which we have had, but has had problems with, maybe neurodiversity, not being accepted, and approach us, we will happily let them join our cohort, because we are believers as well that our cohort needs to be inclusive but also diverse, because we all learn from each other. And if we've got somebody who was lucky enough to go to private school, they're lucky enough to be able to share contacts, networks, and that's what we want, is to build a phenomenal community. So that private school network for, council estate kids, why not? That can get through. But also we're just losing superstars. So you only have to look at the sports industry and the music industry to see the superstars that, against the odds, the Stormzy's. I mean, thank goodness for YouTube, because he probably wouldn't have got signed up. It's only that the whole landscape changed. And the Marcus Rashfords, they only got through because there's a system. The football space realises that they have to have academies, and they have to get young people when they're really, really young. And it's something that we want to do now going forward with the professional space, with the digital space, is getting young people and start really, really helping them. But even if they decide that they want to be a footballer, or they wanted to be a gardener, or whatever it was, you still need to understand tech, digital, and the advantage it can give you. Because if you're a farmer and you understand how to use AI and understand, how to research into robotic equipment, for example, you would be able to get ahead of the curve and be able to thrive in your industry. So no matter what industry, I believe that digital needs to be the fourth pillar of education. So maths, English, science, digital.
Yeah. In terms of pivotal moments for you, what was that defining moment, or was there a single defining moment for you?
I think there's been a number in my career, and a number of phenomenal, they happen to be women, that have really, really helped me. So Kanya King, founder of Mobo Awards, the most Mobo organisation, she's just unbelievable, like her journey of what she's been through as a human, and the determination in her to make stuff happen. I mean, she's had Mobo organisation for 25 years now, and 25 years ago it was a very scary place for a black woman. I mean, it still is, and we know all the stats, but what she created and what she did against the odds was phenomenal. And I suppose it was, I think, 2012, and she was just like, come and work on Mobo and do the social. And I was able to do the strategy and, running around with all the VIPs and having a really, really good time, but also being able to go on the stage and film people and do all of that cool stuff. It was very, I'm trying to get away from the word empowering, because we seem to use empowering only for women, apparently. I saw a woman use it the other day, and she said, well, let's stop using the word empowering. We never say empowering men. It's quite interesting, so I'm trying to get away from that. But she gave me the confidence to be able to believe in myself. So, the whole, it's such a big show. And it was on the BBC, and I was having meetings with the Beeb and people like that. And people just and June Sapong, another person. I remember she asked me to do a 101 social media masterclass. And this was when nobody, all of the agencies have got social media professionals within their agencies now, but when I was doing social media, no one was doing it, because my consultancy, that's what I started like 15 years ago. And June really, she asked me to do the masterclass. I got to the hospital club, and on the window it was like Lisa Goodchild with Lim Rothschild, Shah Wasmond, Kanya King, and I just was like, oh my God, I'm on this bloody window. And then I had to do this masterclass, and you had Baroness Scotland there coming up to me going, Lisa, would you be able to help me with your social, with my social? And I'm like, this is such a leveller. But June's Again, June and Kanya both grew up in adversity. So, when you grow up in adversity, June again counts the state, Walthamstow, and she understands how important it is to ensure people have opportunities. And I grab those opportunities. If someone contacts me and says, Lisa, can you turn up to the event? I am the turner-upper. I do try and turn them up because you just don't know what opportunities are going to be brought to you. Turning up is really important.
Turning up, showing up.
Showing up, yeah. And people have showed up for me and I show up for them.
And you do it with such a smile and such positivity.
I try.
No, but honestly, you really do. What is success for Lisa?
Oh, wow. It's so interesting because people ask me that a lot. And people also, I remember someone saying to me, you need to be a millionaire before you set up a charity, Lisa. I was like, well, I'm not. What I am is, and actually I was taking some young people who grew up from Penge down to Anthropy and the Eden Project in October, and these two young girls in the back of my car, and I could hear them talking. I could just could see myself. They don't realise the opportunities that are out there. They just had no idea. They have no idea about how to reach them. And one of them said, I need to get a man.
I need to get a man.
I need to get a man to be rich. And we was discussing, I went, no, you do not, don't you? Right, we need to work on this. But what we were discussing in the car was success. And I said, well, I feel that I am successful. I've got a beautiful family. I've got an amazing detached house in Bromley, which 4-bedroom, I never could have imagined that. When I was a kid, it's just inconceivable. I've got the most phenomenal community and friends. I've got a brilliant group called Digital Leading Ladies where we have over 400 women on that group, which was created from me and my friend Julia Smith having lunch in Cannes at Cannes Lions, and then some other women joining us, and then getting more added to the WhatsApp group. So this huge, fierce community of females that support me as well in everything I do has been really influential. And I've just had, I think women around me have seen me and lifted me. There's a lady, Mary Keane Dawson, that's been like my fairy godmother, that's supported me and ensured that I believe in myself. But we need to tell people they're good at what they do. We need to carry on. I didn't get told that in school enough.
And as a result of some of the absence of your younger childhood, not being told things at school, do you think you compensate for that now, be it with your children, be it with the business, be it with the people you connect with, interact with?
Yeah, I think this year as well I've had to say, because I do a lot of helping, and this year I've had to say, okay, I need to focus a little bit more on me to be able to ensure that we help the charity and what we're doing with DigiOne, our agency plug-in, our incubator, where we're growing, training and helping talent and ensuring they get work experience and getting paid. In terms of giving, I give a lot because I think I believe that my mum could have been out of that bad space if people had given to her more and just checked in on her. So I'm always checking in on people, and just making sure they're right. But this year, as I said, I've got to just think a little bit about protecting myself as well, in terms of, making sure I do fit in my yoga, making sure I do fit in a bit of meditation, because I want to be able to help a lot more people over the years. So I need to look after me, and I do overcompensate from my childhood for sure. But I think it's a good thing as well because I overcompensate in terms of helping, so looking after people.
We haven't talked about your partner, and I know you've been with him since you were 13.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to share?
Well, he's a calming, so he's like, we are yin and yang. So, he's brilliant. And also he's brilliant in terms of the huge baggage that I come with. He was lucky because he had, none of us, everyone's got a story, but he had really, really strong family values in his home growing up. So his mum and dad were married. They had this beautiful Caribbean community rolling through the door from every island. And his mum is the most giving, beautiful, Jamaican, homely lady. And he was lucky to have that. So I think that's where I'm so passionate. Not that my girls, I've always said to my girls, like, you will bring up things when you're older about things that I did wrong, and I will hold, I will hold that. I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm really lucky that I've learned a lot from his mum. And he's very calm. He is and he is a partner. So I wouldn't be able to be the person I am today without him supporting me, this morning saying, I'm going on a podcast, you've got to do a school run. And he is, lots of people are like, you've got a good one there, and he is. And I'm not saying it's perfect, and I'm not saying that we haven't had bumps along the road, but we work really, really hard to get through that. And I wouldn't be me without him.
How beautiful.
Yeah.
So to wrap up,
yeah,
I asked you who is Lisa? And just to come back to that, following the conversation, who is Lisa?
Who is Lisa? Lisa is determined and is going to change the world for millions of young people around the world and kick establishment up the butt, because we've got to change what we're doing. This divide's getting bigger. And that's me. Passionate, love what I do, determined, and making shit happen.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lisa. That was amazing. If you enjoyed that conversation, then please share A Class of Their Own podcast with your friends and family, and keep spreading the word to those that haven't discovered us yet. It makes a huge impact on our ability to have the people you want. Keep being you through connection, learning, and play. You are a class of your own.